National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani has today delivered the last budget proposal by the Jubilee administration to Parliament. The 3.31 trillion shillings 2022-2023 budget is a 4.8% more compared to the 2.9 trillion shillings budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Yatani said COVID-19 has slowed down the Big Four agenda and allocated 146 billion shillings for completion of the projects and another 7 billion shillings for COVID-19 expenditures. Grace Wangoi begins with this report.
Other proposed allocations in the education sector includes Kenya shilling.
The National Treasury broke the norm in the announcement of the 2022-2023 budget by releasing the budget proposals 2 months earlier than when it is usually delivered. This is to allow adequate time for preparations of the August polls by IEBC.
Kenya secondary school education.
The national government is the biggest beneficiary, having received 2.07 trillion shillings of the entire 3.31 trillion shillings. The 2.07 trillion shillings has been shared to the three arms of government, with the executive getting the biggest chunk at 2.01 trillion shillings, Parliament at 38.4 billion shillings, and the judiciary at 18.8 billion shillings.
Urban indignity in Nairobi.
The national government has been criticized in the past for inadequate allocations to the judiciary. In March, speaking when she engaged the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriation Committee in Mombasa, Chief Justice Martha Koome lamented that the judiciary is operating below the threshold of its constitutional requirement due to insufficient funding.
We have a budgetary allocation deficiency of 21 billion because we were allocated 18 billion. We have an infrastructural capacity deficit. We have about 34 courts around the country that have not been completed. And you know how difficult it is when you have put resources to build a court, and 3, 4, 5 years down the line, those courts are not completed. They cannot be used.
While delivering the budget, Yatani revealed that COVID-19 had severely affected the Big Four agenda projects. President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy is pegged on the number of complete Big Four agenda before the end of his term. For the Big Four, 62.3 billion shillings will go towards universal healthcare, 10.1 billion shillings for manufacturing, 46.8 billion shillings for food and nutrition, and 27.7 billion shillings for affordable housing.
I have proposed a total of Kenya shilling 146.8 billion. Mr. Speaker, we have continued to strengthen our healthcare systems in our quest for universal health coverage. Better health outcomes depend on the availability, accessibility, and capacity of health workers to deliver quality services anchored on well-equipped and provisioned healthcare facilities. Towards this end, the government has implemented various initiatives laying ground for achieving the goal of 100% health insurance coverage.
The Ministry of Education is the biggest beneficiary of the budget allocation, as it received 513 billion shillings. Of this, 294 billion shillings will go to the Teacher Service Commission, 15.8 to the Higher Education Loans Board, 91.2 billion shillings to university education, 2.5 billion shillings will go to recruiting teachers, 5 billion shillings for examination waivers for grade 6, 7 and 8, while 1.2 billion shillings will go into training of CBC teachers.
294.7 billion to Teachers Service Commission, Kenya shilling 91.2 billion for university education, Kenya shilling 15.8 billion to the Higher Education Loans Board, Kenya shilling 6.8 billion for Kenya Secondary School Education Quality Improvement Project, and Kenya shilling 5.2 billion capitation for TVET students. Further,
the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has been allocated 27.1 billion shillings ahead of the August general elections.
$2 billion for
Grace Wangoi for TV News Watch.